How's it going, my friends? I am back with another video for you. This time, I figured I will do a longer format for you, completely from start to finish. So I hope you really enjoy this video. I really put some hours into kind of putting this together and scheduling my day to kind of make this work. So let me know what you guys think. Let's get right into it. All right, so we're gonna start here by combing out the hair and the natural kind of hair growth that we see. My buddy here, he just got his cornrows, and right now we're trying to figure out where his part begins in the fade and where the cornrow kind of begins. He just got his cornrows done the night prior, and we are trying to just make it into a fitted style for him, because right now he's just growing this out. So this is actually one of his first fades with this hairstyle. So it's not going to be completely perfect, but what we are trying to do here is make it so it grows into that perfect hairstyle that we are envisioning. So here I did the 0.5 open, and we're balding it out. So what I do here is I like to blend out that 0.5 in a very flicky initial guide, and then I'll just blend it out going from 0.5 to 0.3, then 0.2, then 0. So I actually blend downwards. So I go 0.5, then do halfway, and then close it. And then you do every level in between. So I'm always constantly going up and down, up and down. This level here, we're just grabbing our trimmer. Any trimmer will do. Back in the day when we first started, I used to like to adjust my trimmer, and what that would do is actually give me a sharper cut. But what that actually ends up happening is not everyone's skin can actually take that harsh, sharp trimmer. So sometimes what would happen is you would actually irritate some people and kind of, what do you call it? Break the skin, and it's too abrasive for some people. So what I did was I just kind of just left it be, and just kind of just use the razor blade if I need something a little bit more sharper. All right, so after the 0.5, we did the number 1 open and then closed. And in between that, we can pull out the 0.5 clip if we feel that the shadow is too heavy, and also when we feel that we can't easily flick that 0.5 with no guard. Sometimes I like to just pull out the 0.5 guard and work out that little shade I see, because sometimes it's not a line. It's just a little shade I'm just trying to get rid of. Next is on my 1.5, and we're gonna do right over what we just did. So again, we're doing very, very flaky, flowy movements, and we are trying to kind of debulk, but blend in to the top layer, the top end that we're trying to get. Again, being very flaky, and we're not going all the way to the part with that 1.5. What we're trying to do is blend every level into each other. So we're not making lines, we're just trying to make it into a shadow. So I don't like to make guidelines. Okay, so right now what I'm doing is trying to just reworking all my steps. So you saw me go to all the way to 1.5, and what I'm doing here is I'm working from 1.5 to number 1 to 0.5, and then to 0.5 no guard, and then to all the other levels in between. And so I find this way is a very foolproof way of not getting lost. So whenever you're done your step, you always go back one step. And finally, we're doing our number 2. I start open, and this is where I kind of polish the whole entire thing. I make sure all the long hairs are gone. It's all shaved down and clean, and I make sure where we parted it out is all shaved down with the number 2 or 2 open. So again, I'm just going back and making sure all my levels are clean, making sure it's nicely blendy. And make sure you always comb that out. So being sure to always consistently comb all the hairs where it's naturally want to go. This way, when we flick, we get the most gradient fade within that flick, if that makes sense. So now here I'm just going around the part and making sure it's nice and straight. We are just going right under the braid. So initially the braider kind of set the part and where it's going to start. But what we're doing is just making it nice and straight and clean, and we're just going to shave that in. So I'm just going to grab my 1.5 closed, and I'm just going to go with the grain. I'm just showing here what I'm using, and we're going to go down with the growth. And what that does is it just gets rid of the bulk. It doesn't give it a short cut. It will just give it a little bulk, like a little debulk. It'll still keep some density and darkness, which is why we do that. Just go along all the sides here where we parted it out, different from the cornrows. You can kind of see a little better here. And what we did to one side, we're gonna repeat and do to the other. Just repeating the same steps. 0.5 open on your clipper. Oh, sorry, we forgot this back part. So we're just gonna do this first. We are going to part it. You can see a little better what I'm doing there. Making sure the part is nice, consistently and straight. And just shave downwards from the part you created. So yeah, shaving downwards just keeps all the density. And the reason why we want density is so we can add in our fades and tapers. So give it more of a pop. You don't want to shave all of your density, because you can't really see your work that you're putting in. The general rule for me is you have to have at least 2 or 3 stops for skin fades. So 2 or 3 stops meaning it goes from 0, 0.5, number 1, number 2, then number 3. So if you get that gradients, the skin fade is going to really pop. So doing the same thing from the other side, just do the 0.5, no guard, lever open, and we're just going to flick that in. Be as flaky as possible. Then we're gonna go halfway, which makes it about 0.3. And then almost closed, which is about 0.2. And then finally, we're just reworking the steps that we just did. So 0.5, go down, half, go down, almost closed, and then finally closed. And with every step, you're going like a millimeter under. And with over time, after you get that into practice, it's gonna get easier and easier. And by the time you know it, you're gonna be completing haircuts within 25 to 30 minutes, which is ultimately, it's the goal to take as much time as you can. But at the end of the day, this is a business, and you're trying to make as much money as you can. Of course, there's a fine line you gotta follow, and you have to be a barber and take care of your clients, but you really have to have a business mindset. So keep that in mind. All right, so we just worked it down to the 0 on the trimmer, and now all I am doing here is working that number 0 up to the 0.5. So just try to remember and take mental notes whenever you do all these little steps. Try to remember where those steps were. All right, number 1 open, about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Be very, very flicky again, and you go straight to close with number 1. If you need, you can go in between. You can go to halfway and get some shades out. But the goal is, again, not to go all the way up to the part. We're fading into the number 2 and 3, so we want that gradients. All right, 0.5. We're working our way back. You know, just reworking our steps, making sure everything's consistent, everything's blending right, everything's together, not getting lost. I just pulled out the 0.5 to kind of get rid of some dark shades and shadows I couldn't really get with the flick. So that's why I pull out the 0.5 sometimes. Especially in tapers. Tapers are very, very like condensed, and you got to be very careful on how high you take that. You got to leave yourself some room at least for fading. All right, the same thing as the other side, you know. I'm just gonna let you watch a little bit. 0.5. Open. The reason why we do open, because we did 1.5 closed down. So now we're doing 1.5 open. So that's the step under it that you go up. So open, and then we're gonna close that. Work right under that previous step. So whenever you do a step, you always work under it when you do a close. So that's why I always start open with every single step. Open first and then closed. Open and then closed, and then you work in between. All right, let's just speed things up a little bit. It's kind of the same thing, you know. I don't want to repeat the same thing, so you just kind of rewind. But again, you're just reworking the steps, making sure everything's good, everything's blending right. I've been doing this a really long time, so I know what's looking right and what's looking, you know, okay for the amount of space I have. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't come out right. Just try again. You know, you'll get it eventually with practice. So I'm just reworking all my steps again. You know, just making sure everything's nice and right. Yeah, just reworking that, you know, nothing new. All right, so the reason why I went clipper over comb, sometimes the hair doesn't really want to cooperate when you're trying to shave it down. Sometimes the hair has a kink in it, like it goes to the side, or the density is not right. So you can just pull out your clipper over comb, and I'll be careful with this technique because you can really easily ruin it. Just if you really see an area that would just go down but you just can't get it, try clipper over comb. You might end up getting the exact spot you're looking at, but just be very careful when you do it. So again, 1.5, going down with it and making sure it's all clean. And what I'm doing here is the same thing on the sides. We're doing 0.5, but the only difference is here is we're raising the middle on the nape. The middle is higher than the sides, so it kind of goes like an arch, like a little rainbow. And the reason why we do this is to give the outlines on either side more of a pop when you go to finish it. It really does make a big difference, and you can tell a huge difference between the two. So give it a try if you haven't really thought of that or you haven't really seen that before. But we as barbers, we try to like enhance our haircuts and try to make it different from the rest. So, you know, if you start doing little things like that, some people notice, so try it out. So what I'm doing here is I'm making the arc and working 0.5 to 0. So 0.5, 0.3, then 0.2, and 0.1, and then you just work in between. After we grab the number 1, open. All my steps are the same. Open. And the goal is not to touch all the way to the part, but to blend into that amount of hair that's there. See, I'm not going all the way to the part. I'm just kind of flicking it into the hair that's already there. That's very important, actually. If you do this step, your blends are gonna come out way easier, way more smooth. It's just you're just gonna have a way easier time getting the results that you're looking for. Okay, 1.5, open, and then closed. There you go. Just making sure everything's nice and clean. So as you can see, my buddy's hair is not completely long enough. Like I said, we're just trying to make it into the growth he's gonna have. So I parted everything nice and right, and making sure that the next time he has a braid, it's gonna be proper. So as you can see here with the outliner, you start from the bottom and try to maintain a C cup. So the way you do this is place your palm, or your back of your palm, or your finger, like your pinky or your ring finger, on the client's face, all right, or your middle finger. And what you want to do is kind of pivot off of this one finger, and just kind of just push, but you're pivoting off of a finger. And so with enough time and practice, it just comes out right. Like you can see right there on the bottom, I'm just pushing off of my other finger using a pivot. If you want to do this kind of technique, it really does help if you use a pivot point. You can see my middle finger is kind of touching his neck, and you can just pivot. Also, that helps with pressure. You use the pressure first, so your middle finger, and then you touch. All right, just touch right under your zero. If you make any marks, any demarcation marks, just go back to the clipper and just get it in that little spot. Try your best not to go high, but it happens, so nothing comes without practice. So just keep doing it, and eventually it's muscle memory. You're using your fingers, you're using your hands. It's all going to be like clockwork, like second nature. So all right. So as you can see here, I start point from the bottom, and I envision where it's going to end. And it's always not too dug in the natural hair. So the end, I like to have it finishing at like a flat 90 degree. As you can see, so we'll go 90 degree first. And then when I reach the end, I want to make sure the end kind of goes flat, straight, not up, straight. You can see that there. That's what gives it the difference, that pop. All right, we're doing around the ear now, same thing. Use one finger right here to kind of pivot. So pivot. You can see there, can you pivoting off that one finger? You give you a way easier time in controlling that trimmer. Just gotta finish it up, just make sure all the edges are nice, combed out. Then you hit it with the trimmer. Just be careful on this area. Just don't overdo it. If you think you're going too high, just stop. It's always better to just leave it. This is just trying to get it perfect, and it's like ends up like all the way halfway through his head. So just be careful. Just don't overdo it. So right there, like try to go straight down. Keep it as natural as possible. Sometimes people's very hairy there, so you gotta really create it. But over time, you just kind of see it in your mind. You kind of envision it, and you just try not to dig in too deep, or else it becomes like a V. That's the one thing you don't want. You don't want to have it like turning out like a V. So make it straight. When you look behind them, you just kind of make it slightly slanted in, but just straight. All right, so what we're gonna do here with the hairline, you can see there's way too many frays, and it's kind of too long to kind of make it fresh when you hit it with the outliner. So what I do here is I always grab the 1.5 and I'll go down with it again. So I'm keeping the bulk, keeping the darkness and the density. And all I'm doing is just getting rid of those frays and those long hairs that would just be in the way of just trying to make it short and straight. So when doing an outline, you always want to start from the middle. Reason being is the middle is usually the lowest point on people's heads. You can see in myself, it's the lowest point. So what I would do here is I'll start from the middle, go out, okay? Try not to go diagonal in, try to go straight as possible. And the way I'll do this is every single time you pass with you swipe with your outliner, go halfway where you just did up from the blade. So you demarked it, and then off of your demarcation line, go halfway from the blade. And that's how you just make it straight. And when you get to the corners here, try not to dig in too much and make him push back. Try to make it as natural as possible. This will take a little finesse, a little time. Outlines is all finesse. Honestly, like I can just show you how it's done, but everyone does them different, and everyone has different principles and how they do it. Like I said, like I like to use outliners that are unmodified, that are the blade is a straight factory, so I don't adjust the blade or unadjusted. So I like to have a little heavy hand at it so I can get that swipe. Whenever I do it, you can see I'm doing a swipe, and I find these machines work best when you kind of swipe away, and it will just give you a nice clean line that way. So you can see right there in the corners, I'm not going completely straight. I go kind of like just a little angled up, tiny bit. This is a very tiny bit on the very corner, and I'll get it very nice and straight. Because like people, we have round heads, we don't have a flat surface. So in order to counteract that roundness, you got to go tiny bit up, like right there. So usually you would think because you're just going straight, but at the edges, you just go tiny bit up. Just making sure it's nice and straight, going like a millimeter at a time, because we don't have a lot of space to work with. So if you mess up, and that's it, he has to rock that for the next 2 weeks, and he won't be too happy. So there you go. So just making sure those corners are a little tight. You see my outliner is not lined up to the other line. It's kind of like angled. When I'm at the corner, it's kind of angled in. It's not completely straight. The corners are kind of angled up. And the reason why, we get that nice 90 degree, that nice sharp edges. And that's how you get them. But you gotta be careful. Don't angle them up too much, or else it's gonna be like a big smiley face, and you don't want that. So you want it to be nice and straight when it appears in the mirror. So just keep checking your mirror every single time you do it. Check, do it, check, and you end up okay. So just keep practice and just keep at it. All right, so that's the finished product. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial, my voiceover on my take on Drake's haircut. Please try to understand that I am learning how to talk on camera. It's kind of still a little weird to me that I'm speaking to my camera alone in my room. So it's gonna get a little getting used to, but please forgive my little awkwardness, my little 1-2s to the lens. I appreciate you stopping by and checking out my video. Please leave in the comments what you think and what you would like to see from a barber with experience in the real world. So I'll be here all month of January, and looking forward to connecting with more people on here. Have a good night, happy new year, and take care.